In a world where relationships are often shallow, transactional, or built on convenience and fleeting validation, the Sigma male stand apart. His love isn't loud, performative, or dependent on social approval. He doesn't hand out his loyalty easily, nor does he display affection to win attention. But when he chooses to give his heart, it's something rare, an unwavering, authentic commitment rooted in depth, consistency, and truth. He shows up without needing praise. He listens, even when you don't speak. He notices things no one else does. His love is never about possession. It's about presence. However, with that deep devotion comes equally deep boundaries. If you betray a Sigma male's trust, there won't be outbursts, arguments, or emotional theatrics. Instead, there'll be silence, cold, clean, and final. This silence isn't passive-aggressive or manipulative. It's transformational. A Sigma male doesn't simply move on after betrayal. He evolves. The love he once held becomes a closed chapter, not revisited, not reopened. Below are 12 psychological shifts that unfold when you break a Sigma male's trust, and why those changes signal an unshakable form of inner strength. 1. He destroys a version of himself that loved you, the death of an emotional blueprint. When a Sigma male loves, he becomes deeply invested, not in a loud, clingy way, but through steady action. He remembers what matters to you, pays attention to your unspoken needs, and stands by you with unwavering loyalty, even when no one is watching. But when you break that trust, he doesn't just distance himself. He erases the emotional version of himself that loved you. That man who once showed up without question, he no longer exists. Not because of hatred, but because that emotional construct was tied uniquely to the relationship he had with you. Once the respect is broken, so is the need to maintain that version of himself. You may still see his face, he may still be polite, but the emotional access you once had, gone. No negotiation, no second chances. And the most unsettling part, he won't explain it, because to him, explanation is owed only where trust still exists. 2. He refuses to let the same person hurt him twice. The Sigma's data-driven mindset. Unlike most people, who often grant second chances out of emotional impulse, whether driven by lingering hope, guilt, or the fear of being alone, the Sigma male approaches betrayal with calculated clarity. His mind isn't led by sentiment in these moments. It becomes analytical, observant, and precise. When someone hurts him, he doesn't lash out or fall into dramatic displays of heartbreak. Instead, he shifts into observer mode. He studies everything. The inconsistencies in your words, the empty apologies, the repeated patterns of disrespect. Every interaction becomes a data point. Every lie, a red flag. Every excuse, a signal. And once enough data is collected, once the pattern is unmistakably clear, he doesn't argue. He doesn't plead for change. He simply removes himself, quietly, cleanly, and without warning. There's no scene, no need for explanation. Just distance. This is not an act of bitterness or revenge. It's principle. For the Sigma male, loyalty is sacred. You had your opportunity to show him that you could be trusted, to honor the rare space he allowed you into. But once that trust is broken, it's not up for renegotiation. He doesn't offer third chances because he values peace over chaos and dignity over desperation. When the door closes with a Sigma, it doesn't slam, it seals. 3. He analyzes you like a scientist studying a failed experiment. Emotional detachment as a survival tool. After betrayal, most people either spiral into grief or lash out in anger. But the Sigma male, he retreats into a place of composed attachment, almost clinical in nature. His emotional responses don't erupt, they recalibrate. Instead of mourning the relationship or wallowing in self-pity, he dissects it with the precision of a scientist examining a failed experiment. He goes back over the entire timeline, not to relive the pain, but to understand the deception. He compares your words to your actions. He scrutinizes the moments where your mask slipped, the inconsistencies in your story, the promises that never matched your behavior. To him, it becomes less about heartbreak and more about data analysis. He's no longer emotionally invested. He's mentally documenting. And once he reaches his conclusion, something definitive happens. You're no longer a person with emotional weight. You're a case study. a lesson in disguise, a closed file. He understands who you are, what drives you, and most importantly, why you'll never have access to him again. At that point, you cease to hold any emotional relevance to him at all. 4. He sees weak apologies as insults. The Sigma is BS detector. Where others might cling to apologies as a form of closure, the Sigma male sees them for what they truly are: signals. Signals that either indicate growth or expose manipulation. And if that apology is shallow, forced, or simply performative, he doesn't find comfort in it. He finds it insulting. He doesn't look at what was said. He looks at why it was said. He notes the timing. Did the apology come after real reflection or only once you were exposed? He evaluates the tone. Was it filled with accountability or laced with self-preservation? And above all, he assesses a follow-through. Did anything actually change? Or was it just an emotional bribe to reset the dynamic? To the Sigma, words without action are worthless. Promises without behavior are noise. He doesn't want flowery regret. He wants evidence of growth. And if you can't offer that, he won't just ignore your apology. He'll see it as a subtle insult to his intelligence. Because for him, true repentance isn't spoken, it's proven. 6. He spots your type from a mile away. Pain is a radar for red flags. The betrayal may have hurt him the moment, but it also gave him something most never attained: emotional X-ray vision. Pain didn't weaken him, it sharpened his awareness. Now, every tactic that once worked on him is glaringly obvious. Where he was once open and trusting, he's now discerning and intuitive. He sees the manipulation in flattery, the danger in excessive praise, and the red flags in seemingly innocent patterns. Love bombing, he spots it before the first bouquet. Gaslighting, he hears it in the tone of your voice. Guilt trips, he's already miles ahead of them. He's developed an internal alarm system that doesn't just protect him. It filters out anyone trying to manipulate him before they even get close. The ultimate irony, the person who betrayed him may have thought they left him shattered. But instead, they forged a more intelligent, emotionally bulletproof version of him. Your games no longer work, not because he's closed off, but because he's finally awake. 7. He turns his love inward. The greatest gift you accidentally gave him, before the betrayal. The Sigma male was someone who gave quietly, deeply, and completely. His love wasn't loud or performative. It was intentional. He paid attention to unspoken needs, supported in silence, and loved with the kind of depth that few people ever truly recognize until it's gone. His emotional energy was a gift he gave to others, often without expecting much in return. But betrayal rewired his direction. Rather than becoming bitter, he redirected his energy. Instead of pouring love into someone who couldn't value it, he turned it inward. That affection, care, and presence that once belonged to others now fuels his purpose, nurtures his personal growth, and cultivates his inner peace. And here's the twist. The most powerful, grounded, and evolved version of him didn't show up during a relationship. It emerged after it ended, not because of the person who hurt him, but in spite of them. The betrayal didn't break him. It woke him up. It forced him to prioritize himself, to become the kind of man who no longer needs to be needed. The love he once gave to others now builds a foundation of his personal empire. 8. He upgrades the standards ruthlessly, from trusting to untouchable. The Sigma male doesn't walk away from betrayal empty-handed. He walks away wiser. And while he may not point fingers or seek revenge, he turns his gaze inward with surgical precision. He doesn't just ask why someone hurt him. He asks why he allowed it. He dissects the experience to uncover the cracks in his own discernment. Why did I excuse that behavior? What need made me stay longer than I should have? These questions become the blueprint for transformation. And the result? A man with ruthlessly upgraded standards. He no longer entertains inconsistency, excuses, or emotional immaturity. His boundaries become like steel gates, not to shut people out, but to preserve the sanctity of his energy. His intuition sharpens like a blade, cutting through deception before it even has a chance to settle in. He adopts a zero-tolerance policy for anything that doesn't align with his values or vision. The version of him that was once trusting is gone. What remains is a self-aware, emotionally sovereign man who's become nearly untouchable. Not because he's cold, but because he's finally mastered the art of protecting his peace. 9. He bulldozes nostalgia. No rose-tinted glasses. After betrayal, most people fall into the comforting arms of nostalgia. They look back at the good times, replay old laughs, and soothe the pain with selective memory. But the Sigma male refuses to do this. He doesn't allow the mind to sugarcoat what the heart knows was toxic. For him, nostalgia is not a refuge, it's a trap. He doesn't sit around reminiscing about the inside jokes, late-night talks, or moments that once felt magical. Those memories, no matter how beautiful they seemed, are stripped of their emotional charge because they were part of a bigger picture that ended in betrayal. He refuses to glorify a connection that ultimately disrespected his loyalty. The laughs you shared, muted. The sweet moments, archived with clarity, not longing. Why does he do this? Because he knows that romanticizing the past is the fastest way to stay emotionally stuck in it. And a Sigma male only moves forward. 10. He becomes a guardian of his energy. The Sigma's new rule: drain me and you're gone. Betrayal doesn't just change how the Sigma male sees others. It transforms how he manages his own energy. He becomes hyper-vigilant, treating every relationship, every conversation, and every emotional exchange like a transaction. Is this costing me more than it's giving? He begins conducting an unspoken audit of everyone in his life. If someone constantly brings chaos, drama, or emotional debt, they're quietly removed. No announcements, no confrontations, no second chances. It's not about punishment. It's about preservation. His new mantra is simple but unwavering. If you drain me, you lose access to me. His peace, once offered freely, is now protected like a sacred fortress. This emotional boundary isn't born from bitterness. It's a byproduct of wisdom. He's not afraid to walk away, even from those he once cared about, if it means protecting his emotional sovereignty. In a world that constantly demands energy, validation, and attention, the Sigma male becomes one of the rare few who understands. Your energy is your currency, and he refuses to spend it on anyone who doesn't deserve it. 11. He studies the pain, not to mourn but to learn, turning betrayal into a masterclass. For most people, pain is something to avoid, suppress, or cry over. But for the Sigma male, pain is data. It's a lesson wrapped in discomfort. When betrayed, he doesn't spiral into emotional chaos or seek pity. Instead, he enters analysis mode, dissecting the experience with surgical precision. He reflects on every detail, not out of longing, but out of a deep desire to evolve. Where did his instincts falter? What warning signs did he ignore? When exactly did trust begin to erode? He creates a mental framework, a personal guidebook for the future, ensuring that the same emotional mistake is never repeated. And in doing so, he doesn't just recover, he outgrows a version of himself who loved recklessly, who trusted too easily, who overlooked red flags in the name of connection. That version of him dies in the aftermath, and in his place emerges someone wiser, stronger, and emotionally untouchable. 12. He replaces you with peace and never looks back. The ultimate Sigma victory. You may have once been a presence in his life, perhaps even a storm he was willing to weather. But after betrayal, the Sigma male rewires his definition of fulfillment. He doesn't replace you with a new fling or a loud proclamation of being over it. Instead, he replaces you with something far more potent: peace. Gone are the mornings filled with tension and doubt. Now, his days begin in silence, clarity, and self-direction. Conversations no longer feel like mental chess games. He surrounds himself only with people who bring stability, not sabotage. The emotional roller coaster is over, and he has no desire to buy another ticket. Here's the final truth that hits hardest. He doesn't hate you. There's no lingering resentment or revenge fantasy, but he's developed a deep intolerance, an allergy to chaos, manipulation, and inauthenticity. And unfortunately, that's what your presence had come to represent. He's not running from you. He's simply moving towards something better, and never glancing back. Final words. The Sigma male silent power. When you betray a loyal Sigma male, you don't just lose a person, you lose something far more valuable and rare, an unwavering form of loyalty that few are ever privileged to experience. His loyalty isn't performative or convenient. It's rooted in depth, principle, and quiet commitment. So when that trust is broken, the fallout doesn't come with emotional theatrics or bitter vendettas. You won't see him plotting revenge, posting vague messages for attention, or chasing closure in circles. That's not how he operates. He doesn't need to prove he was right or make you feel the pain he felt. Instead, he turns inward, studying the pain, identifying cracks, and using experience as raw material for his next evolution. His response is silent, but that silence is not weakness. It's the sound of a man sharpening his mind, rebuilding his defenses, and refusing to allow chaos to touch him again. Where others crumble under betrayal, the Sigma male transforms. He upgrades his values, refines his standards, and tightens his circle. And in that process, he becomes not colder, but clearer, not distant, but more disciplined. So, to every Sigma male reading this, your loyalty is not a flaw, it's a gift. Your mind is a fortress. Guard it wisely. Your peace is your power. Never trade it for approval. Stay sharp, stay silent, stay untouchable, because the world may never fully understand you, but it needs you more than it knows. Do these ideas resonate with you? If you found yourself nodding along or reflecting deeply on the traits and experiences we explored in this video, I'd love to hear your thoughts. The Sigma male mindset isn't often talked about openly, in your perspective, whether you identify with it personally or have encountered it in others, adds valuable depth to the conversation. Drop a comment below and let me know. Which part hit home the most for you? Have you seen these traits in yourself or someone you know? Your insights help build a community where authenticity and growth are prioritized over popularity and performance. If you're drawn to this kind of introspective, no-nonsense content around Sigma males, psychological strength, emotional intelligence, and high-value living, there's more waiting for you. Explore the other videos on this channel for deeper dives, actionable insights, and raw truths that cut through the noise. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay sharp, stay grounded, and stay unapologetically real. Until next time.